everybody!
Hi there!
Welcome back to another episode of Take
47.
47.
Yeah!
You're not a part of this. Shut up.
Joining us today is, of course, Cole Riverwood.
Hi.
And our special guest who was on a episode previously talking about a certain Green Day album turned musical, Nate Ferreira.
Hello.
Are you going to use a coaster for that?
No.
You just put your cup down
You're at my
on a hardwood
house.
table.
So today, we decided to tackle a topic that will last us up in, till like mid-2021. And it is talking about the Marvel Cinematic Universe, talking about all three phases, the Infinity Saga as a whole.
Ah.
So, naturally, we're going to talk about every single movie right here, right now, in depth, for like 10 hours.
Well.
Yep, that's great. No, in all seriousness, it is Phase 1.
Yeah.
We're going to obviously break them up into portions, because we'd be here forever, and no one wants that. So, Cole, can you do us the honors of running through the 6 Marvel movies that we will be discussing today?
Oh, yeah, sure. So, Phase 1 of the Infinity Saga starts with Iron Man. These movies, by the way, all came out from 2008 to 2012, starting with Iron Man, going to The Incredible Hulk, Iron Man 2, Thor, Captain America, The First Avenger, and The Avengers.
All right.
That's Phase 1.
Yep. So, without further ado, let us jump into this topic at hand here and start off with 2008's Iron Man. This movie was directed by Jon Favreau, who would later bless us with The Mandalorian and curse us with the live-action Lion King. He's got a great track record. So let's talk about this, because there was a lot of pressure on this movie, because it's the beginning of superhero movies kind of slowly starting to become...
Take over the world?
Yeah. Before that we had Christopher Nolan's Batman Begins, if I remember correctly, came out before this, because Dark Knight came out in 2008 as well. Yeah. So it was like, alright, well, DC's starting to kind of be not bad, so let's see Marvel's take on that. Because, we had fantastic films like Daredevil and Ghost Rider. To be fair, I actually like Ghost Rider, but besides
the first one, anyway.
Yes, the first one was at least fun to watch.
We had Sam Raimi's Spider-Man out at that point as well, yeah?
That is true. Yes, we did have Sam Raimi.
So that
Sam
was a
Raimi's
Marvel
Spider-Man,
movie for him.
So...
Oh, Fantastic Four.
Oh, right. Oh, my God. Wow.
So, they weren't doing great before
No.
Iron Man came out.
Yeah.
I don't even know if I'd say that they were doing great when Iron Man came out.
Well, do you mean Iron Man didn't do great?
I don't know how Iron Man did. I mean, I know I like that movie.
Yeah.
I think Iron Man's a good movie.
Well,
it didn't do poorly enough that they didn't make more.
Yeah, that's for
is
sure.
So Iron Man. I know you just said that you enjoyed it, Cole. But what about you, Nate? What did you think of Iron Man?
I loved Iron Man. They made a really good choice to focus on the Ultimate Universe from the comics, rather than trying to pull everything from the history going back to the 60s of the Marvel Universe.
I'm sorry, could you just... What's Ultimate?
Yeah, for the people who don't know comics.
So the Ultimate Universe was another line of comics, a different Marvel Universe. I think it's like Earth 9999 and...
Oh yeah, you know that one.
Yeah.
616 is the official Marvel Universe. This is the what we've been following for since my parents were children. But I'm not sure about that, whether it's 999, but I think
it's high up there.
Yes, there's definitely there's a number associated with the MCU. That's one universe. So they're all connected, and we're going to see a lot more of that in Phase 4, and with the stuff that's coming to Disney Plus, and with the next Spider-Man sequel. But the Ultimate Universe was like, let's get rid of the baggage, and let's make, like, if these characters were created now, how would they be? So Spider-Man involved, his origin involved genetic engineering rather than just a radioactive spider.
Yeah.
And Nick Fury, they were just like, hey, let's make him look like Sam Jackson, because we think that's cool. But that wasn't because they knew that there was going to be a movie made. Although Kevin Feige he started at the low level in the comics, working on the comics, and he had a plan. He believed that he could make the MCU as we know it today. Maybe it's bigger than he ever imagined now, but like he was just...
I would bet that it is.
Yeah.
I would agree.
He was just like, I think we can make good Marvel movies and not be laughed at. And instead they took over all of Hollywood. But the Marvel Universe, the Ultimate Universe was just little tweaks to appearance and origin stories, and get rid of the decades and decades of history that often is contradictory, and just like start fresh but still have a lot of the cool Marvel characters. And so most of the MCU pulls heavily from that rather than just from, the Spider-Man that we knew in the 60s. And
right.
So Iron Man is not, I think Tony Stark originally, I forget, it was either the Korean War or the Vietnam War. It was his origin, but like that doesn't make sense for movies that were made after 2000 for Tony Stark to be like a Vietnam vet.
No, but he is in Iraq, right?
Yes.
Demonstrating his Jericho missile.
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
Jericho missile.
So he's not just, some soldier. He's
philanthropist, billionaire,
philanthropist.
Is that what I said? Genius,
billionaire, playboy, philanthropist.
Philanthropist.
So it's great to have him be from a contemporary war zone, and that makes some of his characters some of his rogues gallery, his personal rogues gallery, there's room to play with what that means. He's not facing the Mandarin, the mysterious Eastern wizard.
Yeah.
That was his name?
No. I'm just saying the Mandarin is the name.
Yeah.
I'm saying,
what
like,
a name.
But we're just he was in
Iron
3?
Man 3, yeah. He was in Iron Man
Except
3.
a very different, weird. That's a whole other twist to talk
Yeah,
about in another
we'll talk
phase.
about at that point. Yeah.
But it was very smart for them to pull from the Ultimate Universe, and it gave us. They didn't have to rethink everything about every character when they made these movies.
Yeah.
It was already rethought, and so that's awesome. Iron Man, solid movie.
Yeah, absolutely.
I think, unlike some of the other earlier MCU movies, it really does hold up.
Yeah, I completely agree, 100%.
Yeah, but Jon Favreau was very much making it up as he went along, and he had to fight for Robert Downey Jr. to be even considered, and
yeah,
it all could have gone a very, very different way. Tom Cruise was still under consideration to be Tony Stark by the time they were making this movie, even though it first came up after like Top Gun.
Right.
Whoa.
Yeah. So
that dates back.
Yeah, it does.
But yeah, what do we got in this movie? We've got Pepper Potts.
We got Jeff Bridges.
Yeah, we got Obadiah Stane.
Obadiah Stane.
Yep. And Obadiah Stane's a great character because he's sort of like a little bit like Lucius Fox and a little bit like Alfred from Batman,
right?
In that he was first, as like Lucius Fox, he kept the business running,
right,
when Tony Stark's parents died, and continued to be Tony Stark's right-hand man at that, but also to be kind of a mentor to him like Alfred was for Bruce Wayne, and to have that be the villain is just a great twist. It's not like Obadiah Stane was never in the comics before, but it just came together really well in this movie, especially with Batman being what we were looking to.
Yeah.
So I really liked that. I liked how they handled Tony Stark being cared about by Pepper Potts, but like it was not immediately like, let's jump into this relationship.
They took their time.
Yeah, and it that worked out well for the rest of the franchise, that we watch a relationship gradually develop in a pretty healthy way, even though Tony Stark is not a healthy person mentally.
No, I really like Tony's progression really in the entire Infinity Saga, but this movie I really like how he first starts off the movie, he's cocky, he's arrogant, he's like, he's cracking jokes, and he's like, witness my weapon of mass destruction, and of course the iconic scene of the bomb blowing up behind him, and he just holds his arms out like, yes, I'm awesome.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden, of course, he gets that rude awakening, and right when he actually sees the damage, it's this really cool kind of thing where he ends up building a relationship with I forget his name in the cave. Was his name Yusuf?
I believe his first name's Yusuf.
Yes. And then like kind of getting a different perspective from the war that he's just helped just continue to rage on.
Yeah.
And I really like right when when he gets to the States again, suddenly he's like, you know what? Nope, I'm stopping all this. And it's really cool to just see that continue to develop throughout the rest of the Infinity Saga.
Yeah.
I think Tony is an incredibly well written character. His character arc is it's so good, and it's really nice. Obviously, knowing what we know now, just kind of looking back and seeing where it all started.
Yeah.
And I completely agree that this movie does still hold up.
By the way, I think it's Yinsen, I think is his actual name.
Oh, okay, Yinsen, okay.
Oh, Yinsen.
Okay, I take that back. Yinsen, not Yusuf. I take that back. Comment section, don't kill me.
I think it's okay.
If that's all we have for...
I do want to talk about Terrence Howard, though.
Oh, right. Terrence Howard is Rhodey.
That's a good thing to talk about. Before that, I just want to say very quickly that this was the first appearance of Agent Coulson, and
True.
He was a key figure all the way through to the Avengers.
Yes.
And also, I really like Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., but we're not going to talk about that today. But I'm just glad that Coulson has a 7-season-long TV show centered on him.
Yeah. He did deserve that.
I do like Coulson a lot. I also like how he keeps talking about S.H.I.E.L.D. in like this super long name, and he's like, yeah, we're still working on the name.
Yeah.
I really like that. But yeah, no, absolutely. I completely forgot that Rhodey has been played by two different people.
Yeah. Right, so War Machine in this movie is played by Terrence Howard. And is War Machine, has he always been like a sidekick to Iron Man?
Not always, but I think it was like, I mean, as far as you guys are concerned, always. I think it was in the 90s that War Machine... James Rhodes was a character for quite some time. I don't know how far back it goes, but it might be almost all the way to the beginning that they were friends. I believe he was a helicopter pilot originally, and then he was Tony Stark's personal helicopter pilot when I was really getting into Iron Man comics in the 90s. And and sort of like, basically he was Tony's driver. They just happened to drive around in a helicopter,
right?
And so he I think he just kind of figured out that Tony Stark's Iron Man again, because they've gone back and forth in the comics over and over and over of like, no, Iron Man is just Tony Stark's personal bodyguard,
right? Yeah,
and then like, yep, no, it's me now. I'm doing it, and then whatever Iron Man was not like popular in the public or was wanted by the government or something, he'd just be like, no, I'm not that guy anymore. Someone else is in that armor. And so anyway, yeah, War Machine is just basically Iron Man with more guns.
Yeah.
And
he doesn't even like Tony in this movie, though, does he?
Well, part of that I think was more just a lack of real chemistry between the two.
Oh, you think that's what it was?
Well, there was a little drama, sort of, as far as we know from Terrence's point of view, because obviously, as we know, he didn't return for any other part of just being Rhodey in general. Of course, that went to Don Cheadle.
Do we know why that is for sure?
If I remember correctly, Howard said that it was something about he wanted more money in the sequel, right?
Well, here's what it was. Terrence Howard was the star at the time. He wasn't the star of the movie, but he was the movie star when this was made. He was paid more than Robert Downey Jr. for Iron Man 1.
Wow. I didn't know that.
And they basically were like, hey,
not going to do that again?
Yeah, we're not doing that again. And he was like,
okay, well, I want to do that again.
From what I heard, they were like, we want to pay you less. And he was like, well, I want you to pay me more, so what's going to happen here? And they were like, we don't need you. It was dragged out, but that was basically the negotiation. Like, they were saying, we're not paying you anywhere near as much as you got. And he was saying, like, well, I'm not even settling for what I got in the first one. And so
well, I think too bad that they butted heads so early on in the process.
Yeah, well, it's just about he has a reputation like Edward Norton does of being very serious about his craft, but very very difficult to work with because he's so serious. It is a good segue.
It is.
Because the next movie was
Incredible Hulk.
Yeah. Although I do want to just say, to ruin the segue, not that you don't ruin a segue by pointing out that it's a segue.
Have we done that? Have we pointed out that this is a segue?
I don't think so.
I don't know. I mean, maybe.
If this is a segue and we have pointed that out, please let us know in the comments.
Of course, 100%. I need to know.
But no, it reminds me of people or Star Trek fans. On Star Trek The Next Generation, Patrick Stewart really was a jerk and did not get along with the rest of the cast. He was very angry that people were like having fun while making the show. And somewhere, I forget if it was toward the end.
Star Trek bug.
No, he just got the stick out of his ass. And, he just
that too.
He became fun, and he got involved in some pranks and just got to like the people. Well, that wasn't what turned him.
Oh, it wasn't?
No.
Oh.
But no.
Here I thought his career was just founded on that.
But anyway, if you hear that you have a reputation as a difficult to work with actor, my personal recommendation is, don't be difficult to work with anymore.
Yeah. That's just not.
You can have a lifelong, successful career with a variety of famous characters rather than be a footnote in the history of the MCU.
Very, very true.
So, Incredible Hulk.
Yes, Incredible Hulk. This movie came out in 2008 and was directed by I could say this in like the French way, I guess. Like
say it the French way.
Louis Leterrier, like great French Pardon my French. This is the same guy who directed in 2016 The Brothers Grimsby, if anyone has actually seen that, with Sacha Baron Cohen and
that was a pretty well
Mark
received
Strong.
movie, no?
It's it's a comedy.
It's a comedy.
It's a
that's
very
for sure.
raunchy comedy.
No, I mean I don't really feel bad saying that The Incredible Hulk will be most known for the fact that it was like the least best movie in the Infinity Saga, right?
Yeah.
Like
So
I'm gonna be real here. Like, let's just start it off.
Actually, no.
Leveling the playing field.
No.
I haven't seen this movie.
It's forgettable. People forget that it was even part of the MCU because.
Well, they're not exactly advertising it.
Yeah. Well, the thing is, Universal is the production company that has the rights to Incredible Hulk solo movies. So Iron Man was the big gamble, what if Marvel makes their own movies?
Right.
And then they sort of did a soft sequel to it, or a spin-off with Incredible Hulk, but it was just Universal making the movie and distributing the movie and making most of the money from it. Mm-hmm. I think they might have thrown a Marvel logo at the beginning, but and certainly Kevin Feige had a hand in it, and they very directly tied it into Iron Man with the post-credit scene.
Yeah,
Robert Downey Jr. was in the movie.
Yes. But actually, was he in the movie or was he in the post-credit scene?
I count that as the movie, no?
Well, a lot of people don't. It's after the end of the movie. It's like a commercial for another movie.
That's a good way of thinking about it, honestly.
There's none of the movies in the MCU hinge on, or like are really changed by any of the mid or post credit scenes. They just, like, it's a finished movie and then
something
here's a
segue.
treat.
Yeah.
But anyway, I don't think it's by far.
Well, fine.
I don't think it's the worst movie.
You don't?
No, I don't.
Yeah, I don't either.
You don't either? No. Well, now I have to see the movie.
But
tell me about it.
But Edward Norton, as we said, reputation as being difficult to work with, and he kept trying to change the movie. He wanted to rewrite things, and he often does that. If I'm not mistaken, every movie he's in, he's like, here's how I want this scene to change, and he's generally allowed to do it. He was allowed to do it to a certain extent for this movie, but it was decided not to continue with him, simply because they were building a family. Really,
yeah.
The MCU, like, they want people to be able to work together and be happy, and not have one of their stars chasing other actors away from the franchise. But it was cool because it functions as a sequel to Ang Lee's Hulk movie. Mm-hmm. Starring Eric Bana.
Yeah.
And Jennifer Connelly?
Yes.
But so it functions as a sequel to that. Like, if you saw that one, this can be what happened a year or two later. Mm-hmm. It fits well with Iron Man, and it does set up some stuff from the future, but clearly it is the redheaded stepchild of the MCU. They took years to bring General Ross back, and nobody else is from this movie is ever really mentioned.
Yeah.
You know, the Abomination.
He's the main villain of that movie.
He's the main villain of this one. It's like, what if Hulk had to fight the Hulk?
With spikes.
Yes.
Oh, well, that changes everything.
No,
I mean, you ever see Abomination again? In the whole Infinity
Saga?
Saga?
I'm also pretty sure that he dies in this one.
Nobody ever dies in comics.
That's true too. That's a valid point.
Except Uncle Ben.
That is also true.
And it used to be Jason Todd, but I guess we broke that rule too.
I had fun with this movie. I definitely think it's not boring, which I think another movie in this phase that we're obviously going to talk about after is suffers from. I think it's fun. Its action sequences certainly aren't dull, at least in my opinion. Mm-hmm. I really liked the third act a lot. Between Hulk and Abomination fighting in New York or San Francisco, I think actually. It's very fun. I like Eli Roth, who plays Blonsky. Yep. He's a good that's Abomination, by the way. Gotcha. Before he turns into Abomination. Really like Eli Roth. I always like Liv Tyler, just in anything. But this is the only movie that she's in. They did say that that her character did get snapped. She was one of the characters that got snapped. So I thought that was kind of funny that people were like, "Well, what about Ross's daughter?" Yeah, I thought that was kind of funny. But so what do you think, Nate? Like, did you have a fun time when this came out, or now?
I did. I really did, and I thought, like a lot of people, I thought that Edward Norton embodies Bruce Banner better than Eric Bana did. Yeah. And honestly, from what I always thought of the character as in the comics, mm-hmm. a skinny guy that is like kind of nice but kind of an asshole. Like, yeah. That's Bruce Banner to me, and he really sold the trying to manage his emotions, and like he was the actor to show us Bruce Banner trying to contain the Hulk. Yeah. And that I think he's perfect for what that movie was. So I actually think he's a better Bruce Banner. He's truer to comics Bruce Banner than maybe anybody that's ever played Bruce Banner, mm-hmm. or David Banner, if we want to include Bill Bixby from the 70s.
Yeah, I'm okay with that.
So good choice. Played it well. The whole movie, it's great to see him struggling, but also really accepting being the Hulk, like the necessity of being he's the one that can beat the Abomination, rather than just the Hulk is a Frankenstein monster that's just running away from the villagers that are trying to kill him. Yeah. And so that's just nice to see that, and certainly sets up him being useful in future movies. Yeah, I agree. And so it does a great job from that standpoint, and it was a fun and interesting movie, and very, very good for the time.
Yeah, that's a good viewpoint rather. I mean, there's really not much else to talk about it, because it is, like we said in the beginning, it is rather forgetful. It doesn't really tie into anything else other than the post-credit scene with just Tony saying, you got your ass kicked, Ross. That's basically it. Yep. So let's just jump into the next one, which is Iron Man 2, right? Mm-hmm. Iron Man 2, was that one also directed by
Jon Favreau?
It was? Yeah. I know a lot of people think that Iron Man 2 is boring. It's definitely, in my opinion, not as good as the first. I was in the same boat when this movie first came out. I thought it was incredibly boring. I thought the trailers made it look super badass, and then, of course, when I was younger, all I wanted was to see Iron Man blow shit up and be, like, super cool. Yeah. So I didn't get to appreciate the dialogue scenes as I do now, because I was
a big dum-dum.
I was just I was a 9-year-old excited about Iron Man blowing stuff up again, and then most of the movie was just dialogue, and I didn't like that. Yeah. But looking at it now, I do appreciate it, and it's kind of the same thing with the whole character development as a whole. And this is also the first movie that Black Widow is introduced.
Yeah,
played by Scarlett Johansson.
Yep.
So looking back, rewatching it kind of recently, I definitely think it's not as good as Iron Man 1. I still think it is thoroughly enjoyable. But what do you two think of Iron Man 2?
Well, I actually haven't even seen Iron Man 3. This was the last Iron Man movie I saw.
Mm-hmm. Really?
Yeah. I really liked it. I liked it less than the first Iron Man, though. I thought that the Russian scientist, Vanko.
Ivan Vanko.
Yeah. Ivan Vanko. I didn't really like. I didn't love him, but I didn't hate him. I feel like he was a pretty forgettable villain in the grand scheme of the MCU. But then again, it turned out to be Sam Rockwell's character that was more of a threat to Tony than he was, right?
Yeah, Justin Hammer.
So, and I really like Justin Hammer.
Yeah.
So I guess in the end, it really just kind of evens out for me into being a good villain. Yeah. I think Tony does what Tony did in the first movie again. He shows us the struggles of being him, even though you would think that he wouldn't have any struggles. And they continue to make him a character that you love to feel conflicted about. He's still not doing great things for everyone.
Yeah, he's still arguably very much learning.
Yeah, he's still really learning to be a hero.
Yeah,
not just a guy that's looking out for himself.
Yeah. He is also dealing with the fact that his, I suddenly forget what's in his chest.
Oh, the arc reactor.
Yes, thank you. The arc reactor is poisoning him.
Yeah.
Because, it's just the metal is slowly killing him or whatever.
This is the movie that he has to find the new metal for.
Yes, and so he forged a new element.
Yeah, that's right. He makes his own element. Yeah. That was the stupidest part of the movie.
Yeah, and this is the one that he builds a particle accelerator and he adjusts it by hand?
Yes. Yes.
Actually, it's not by hand. He uses a wrench. Yeah, he realizes it's not going to work, so he grabs a wrench and he just twists. I love Jarvis's line at the end, too. He's like, "Congratulations, you have discovered new element." That's it. Cool.
I also love that it's the idea for the new element was thought up by his father and he designed it, but new elements you're not here's where the electron goes, and you
just add another one and you hope that the world doesn't blow up in the process.
You smash stuff together until you make a bigger atom, and the atom figures itself out.
Yeah.
And I don't know. I just know enough about science that I was just groaning the entire every mention of this new element, because the solution to this kind of situation is finding a way to make something stable. It's not, hey, every time we make a bigger atom, that just doesn't last long. There's a reason we don't see things from the absolute tail end of the periodic table showing up underground,
because they last for 10 seconds.
Yeah,
so that's it. And then they disappear.
What he was doing doesn't make sense with anything we know. And if you're going to try to ground your whole universe in science,
then you gotta ground your whole universe in science.
Yes.
So there was a better way to do that. But anyway, fine. It just took a little, just being really smart and a little elbow grease, and he invented a new
element.
But this was this was a movie where things started to heat up more with S.H.I.E.L.D., right? Sam Jackson is starting to track down Iron Man more.
I was about to point that out too. Yeah.
Case.
Yep. And you got to get your shit together. And so I like that. Nick Fury was increasingly.
Oh, right, I used his actor name. Oop.
I think we've been doing that interchangeably with other people too. But,
that's true too. Yeah.
Sometimes I forget one of the two. I can only remember a name.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's nice to see Nick Fury as like the babysitter of Tony Stark for the first like few movies.
Mm-hmm.
He's just like, get your shit together, Tony. Get your shit together.
Stop sitting on donuts, Tony.
Sir, please exit the donut.
But it's this in this movie that Rhodey steals one of the suits.
Yes.
Gives it to the military.
Yeah. Well, he gives it. He gives it to the military, and they give it to Justin Hammer.
Yep.
To modify. So yeah, I gotta say this movie really brought home to me how much they don't. That for some reason for the movies they really shied away from like the hero and the villain names.
Right.
And.
Why? Because he was only ever Justin Hammer. Like he didn't have a.
Well, I'm talking about Vanko. Like he's
Whiplash. Yeah, I was gonna say he's Whiplash.
Gotcha. He's Whiplash. I don't think we ever hear that word.
I don't think so either.
He is credited, I'm pretty sure, in IMDb as Whiplash, like in parentheses or something like that. I've heard that name before, not from the movie, if I remember correctly, but
yeah. And I think also there's a tendency still in all superhero movies that was like a bad habit since the original run of Batman movies.
Right.
I shouldn't say the original run. I think there was a movie in the 40s, but you know the ones that two Michael Keatons, a George Clooney, and a Val Kilmer.
Yeah.
Or a Val Kilmer and a George Clooney. But just like throwing more villains into the movie instead of making a good movie, and I don't think we needed Whiplash and Justin Hammer. It worked better here, but it was the start of something that was concerning me, of more and more villains in each subsequent sequel. I wanted to see Whiplash fight Iron Man a lot. Like when you're showing us that scene in the racetrack in the commercials, like I wanted to see Whiplash get a better suit and take on Iron Man again.
Yeah.
Didn't really happen.
No.
I feel like it kind of suffers from what Spider-Man 3 suffers from with Sandman and Venom.
Yeah, absolutely.
I completely agree. That's good comparison. That was
thank you.
Good job, Cole. Extra brownie points for you.
Oh, nice.
This movie has my favorite
dance scenes.
My favorite scene in the entire MCU. And yes, it is when Justin Hammer comes shuffling out on stage. I sometimes put on a 10-hour loop of that scene on YouTube to go to sleep. But and by the way, Sam Rockwell is that wasn't just something he learned to do for that movie. He's an excellent shuffle dancer. He's in several
scary good.
Yeah, he's
I believe it. I love Sam Rockwell.
But okay. This movie.
This right here, yes.
Right here, right now.
It's also got the most bizarre thing, the weirdest thing about the MCU as just a place for people to exist.
Uh-huh.
Easy time travel, shrinking down to be microscopic. Like I'm okay with all that. What baffles me is a month-long expo from weapons manufacturers that the public goes to.
I was thinking the same thing, and oh my god, yeah, because they're like, you know, it's all month long, and it's like this big like theme park looking thing.
Yeah,
that's some Apple keynote.
Yes, it's a combination of Apple keynotes and World Fair, but it's all weapons manufacturing.
And everyone's like, yeah, woo!
And yeah, it's not insane. It's not
yes,
like
it is.
No. Yes, that's all insane. It's not crazy to think that there's extended expositions, trade shows of something that makes a lot of money, like the military-industrial complex.
Yeah.
That's not crazy. But the fact that it is like Disney World in that universe is... The only way it's believable is if everyone's Iron Man. If there's just like nukes dropping all over the planet, like it's just that idea. I'm so glad they didn't keep talking about how long it was, but they didn't need to say it. It could have been a weekend.
It was for the whole
thing.
Phase
It
1
wouldn't have affected
it was said in a news report. Right?
Yeah.
It was like, oh, welcome to Stark Expo. Like, we're here for a month.
Yep.
Yeah. They could have easily just kept that out, and you would have just assumed it was like a couple days. You know, nice little like Comic-Con type bracket.
Yeah. But not a bad movie. I
agree there. Not a bad movie.
I liked everything. I liked Scarlett Johansson coming in, and providing something for Pepper Potts to be jealous of, and to advance that relationship a little bit.
Created some much needed tension there.
Yeah. Don Cheadle and Robert Downey Jr. have a chemistry on screen that makes it believable that, like, if Terrence Howard was the one to steal the Iron Man suit, I wouldn't have believed when they're like, okay, but we're still friends and let's fight off this mutual enemy.
Yeah,
I wouldn't have believed it.
Yeah.
Don Cheadle
would have felt fake.
He was great. He was great when he was. I forget if he was first or if Nick Fury was first, but when Rhodey comes in and bitches out Tony for having a party and getting drunk in the Iron Man suit and shooting stuff, you need to like be in therapy right now, not be the world's leading superhero.
Yeah, Rhodey's always kind of been like that. Even in the courtroom scene when the speaker or whatever calls Rhodey to the stand and all that, and like Tony looks at him and he's like, Rhodey, why are you here? And he goes, look, I'm here. There's nothing you can do. Deal with it.
Yeah.
Like, he likes putting Tony in his place, and I think that's exactly what Tony needed, especially in the beginning of his whole arc. So I agree. I think Don Cheadle was I wouldn't say much better, but I like him more as Rhodey than I did Terrence Howard.
Yeah. And it just brings up something for me that is just personally, I like that everyone that Tony Stark surrounds himself with is someone that has something that he aspires to. Like Pepper, even Happy Hogan, that's Jon Favreau's character.
Yeah.
Pepper Potts, Happy Hogan, Rhodey, and even Peter Parker later on in the franchise, he's seeing good in them, and he surrounds himself with people that make him better rather than people that make him worse.
Yeah.
And that's just cool. And I like that they made sure to do that in this movie.
I completely agree.
Heck yeah. Next movie?
So, yeah, now we go on to the movie that I don't really have much to say at all about it. Thor! This is directed by Kenneth Branagh, who has most recently directed the smash hit on Disney Plus, Artemis Fowl.
Wow, we did him dirty. Sorry there, Kenneth Branagh.
I do like Kenneth Branagh, not gonna lie.
No, it's okay. He made some pretty bad movies.
Yeah, he has made some kind of rocky movies. This was before. Yep. This was before Thor was fun.
Oh yeah, it was very Thoring.
What?
Said it was.
You made a Thor pun.
Said it was.
Really? I'm editing. No, I'm gonna keep that in. I want everyone.
Boring.
Oh.
Yeah,
okay.
Thoring, boring. Yeah, oh my god.
Yeah, that's not a pun.
That's terrible. Anyway, like this movie. No, I think we're all in mutual agreement. I'm pretty sure where we say that this is by far the weakest Phase 1 Marvel movie, at least in my opinion. I think.
Yeah, because Thor 2 isn't Phase 1.
No,
Thor 2.
No, it was not.
In my opinion, Thor 2 is the weakest MCU movie.
That's valid.
But yeah, so okay, yeah, it probably is the weakest Phase 1 movie. So you gave a really good recap right before.
Of Thor?
Yes, yeah. Recap for the audience, because a lot of people probably don't even remember
Thor. Alright, so Thor, yeah, he's up in Asgard, and he's with his brother Loki, and he's with his dad Odin, and Odin's like, alright, one of you guys is gonna have to, like, take the throne after, and Loki's like, I want the throne, and Thor's like, okay, but the throne is my throne. And then Thor goes to war with the ice giants, even after his daddy told him not to. Mm-hmm. And a lot of people die. I think, like, all of Thor's friends die except for Loki, right? Don't they all get, like, slaughtered by the ice giants? Whatever, it doesn't matter. Thor comes back with Loki, his dad finds out, and he's like, Thor, you're so irresponsible and ugly, and I hate you.
He's so irresponsible.
And he sends him down to Earth. And he, like, forgets all about being Thor, and he sends the hammer to a different place on Earth and blesses it with the power of Thor, and he's like, anyone who's worthy gets to pick up the hammer. Really simple. A lot of middle stuff happens where, like, Thor makes relationships with all these people on Earth, and then there's this big villain, which I don't even remember who it is, but I remember it takes the form of, like, this sentinel. It's Loki. It's Loki sending a sentinel from Asgard to kill Thor, right?
I don't even remember, but and that's the problem in this movie. There is a Sentinel sort of thing that you're referencing the Sentinels from X-Men, right?
Oh yeah. It looks like
it's a giant
Sentinel from X-Men. Yes.
For the older crowd or people that are into super classic sci-fi, it looks like Gort from The Day the Earth Stood Still.
Yep.
And also, like Gort from The Day the Earth Stood Still, starring Keanu Reeves. Which is not so classic.
No. Much less classic. Either way, the movie ends with Thor getting his hammer back, getting the girl, and saving the day. Mm-hmm. And now he's Thor, Prince of Asgard again.
Right. Now, some interesting things happen in the movie, though.
Oh, sure.
That are affecting things later on or help you understand it. Thor had the hammer. And then Odin put the spell on it that says, if you're worthy,
then you can wield Thor's hammer.
Then you can wield the power of Thor.
Oh yeah, that is the exact wording, isn't it?
Okay. Now later on, we come to learn that that is the power of Thor, not the power of the hammer.
Yeah.
And he just needed it. There was like his training wheels. You know, he needed it to control the power.
Yeah.
And hone his skills.
And his
mad lightning skills.
But it's interesting because people forget that weapon, that tool, one, isn't the source of his power, and two, didn't always have that restriction on it. Mm-hmm. That was because he was being a bad boy.
Daddy didn't like.
He was immature. He was only several thousand years old.
You're grounded,
and he needed to go through some hardships. And so that's very interesting. In real Norse mythology, where Thor comes from, and sometimes in the comics, it's not any kind of magic. It's just nobody's strong enough to pick it up. So that's just an interesting thing, and it really sets up some stuff that still hasn't even happened yet, but is supposed to happen in future movies, where certain people essentially become Thor. We did see Captain America have his moment. Spoiler.
What?
But I think,
what?
But
that was being teased for a while anyway. So
that was.
And everyone just kind of knew it. Actually, like everyone who followed the comics knew that eventually that moment would happen, or else they'd riot.
But we also see S.H.I.E.L.D. start to gear up even more in this movie with their...
Is this Hawkeye's premiere?
I thought that was in Avengers.
Nah.
I forget. There was a moment, he was just called the Hawk.
I think... Oh, my lord.
I could swear
I'm going to do some research.
Thor. I think he fights a powerless Thor to try to keep him from getting the hammer.
Yeah. I'm pretty sure. I don't know why I don't remember that.
I think,
but I mean, I don't doubt it.
Every discussion I ever have about this movie, everyone agrees. Like it's forgettable, and like we remember some things that may or may not be in the movie, and no one's sure. Yeah, I don't know if there's a spell placed on this movie. Maybe it's amazing, and we just don't remember. But,
maybe.
But the point is...
Natalie Portman's in it, too. I feel like we didn't even mention that.
Well, I don't think we did. So Natalie Portman is Jane Foster.
Yes.
And Heimdall. Heimdall's awesome.
I really like Heimdall.
I like Heimdall. I feel bad. I think it was a waste, though, of Idris Elba to be really such a minor character. I like him... I don't like Heimdall in this movie, but I like his other appearances.
Yeah, he definitely got a lot more screen time in Ragnarok and 3 seconds in Infinity War, but he did get a nice little glow up in Ragnarok, which I'm definitely looking forward to talk about that one when we get there.
Yeah.
I really just like trying to remember this movie. It sucks because we're so close to like Avengers and like the first Avenger and all that stuff. So like when I watch this movie, I'm just excited to just get through it. It's just kind of like a yeah. Thor, whatever, gets the hammer. Can we just get to the cool stuff, please? And I just kind of forget the movie.
You were right, Nate, about Hawkeye.
All right.
Okay.
So yeah,
it's an uncredited cameo. Him and Sam Jackson.
Oh, okay. But they just Shield finds a hammer and they
create like
set up a little base around it. And,
and when Thor finds it, Thor tries to get his hammer back, obviously, and they all just try to kill Thor. But that's fine. That's totally fine.
The post-credit scene, however, does set up.
What happens on the post-credit scene?
Post-credit scene, if I remember correctly, if it is this movie, is Stellan Skarsgård's character meets Nick Fury, and we find out that he is kind of being, I guess, quote-unquote possessed or like mind-controlled by Loki. And Loki, this is when he sees the Tesseract.
The first appearance of an Infinity Stone.
Yes, and the Tesseract is there, and Nick Fury is like, if we're able to tap this, it's unlimited power. And Loki shows up in like the reflection of like one of the like glass windows or whatever, and he goes, well, let's have a look then. And that, of course, is kind of the inciting incident to propel us into Avengers. But we have a movie in between the Avengers, the first Avengers movie, that unites these characters.
My favorite one.
We have the next one, if everything has been said about Thor.
Yes. Everything I care to say.
Yeah. We now jump to World War II with Captain America, the First Avenger.
Heck yeah.
This movie, for me, is the exact opposite of Thor. I really like this movie a lot. It's a lot of fun. I think it is. It's very. I feel like Steve Rogers, just as a character, was done really, really well.
Almost John Krasinski. Still baffles me.
Yeah, it is very weird to kind of think about that. Yeah. You have Hugo Weaving playing Red Skull.
Yeah.
And just the whole movie as a whole, it was really nice to see all these characters that we've only, as of till now, like, kind of heard about. They're kind of beyond or before our our characters' times, that we've had. So we get to see Howard Stark when he's this basically Tony, but in the 40s.
Mm-hmm. At one of those 1 month long conventions.
Yes. I almost feel like that's more believable in the 40s, though, because it's like, when he does the whole floating car part, and everyone's like, "Oh my god, like that's insane," and then it messes up.
Oh yeah.
Like everyone's still in awe, and he goes, "I did say a few years from now."
Right, right.
Like I don't know. I feel like at that point, because we just started tapping into nuclear energy and all that jazz. It's just kind of like I feel like it's a lot more believable to have an expo that big in the 40s rather than now.
Well, I mean, when we're in the second planet-wide war that actually happened in our world too.
Yes,
it is more believable that there would be like, okay, we're looking for crazy ideas and we're going to whoever has ideas that help the military are going to make a lot of money. It makes more sense. I don't know if they said it was a month long then.
Oh, that is true. I do know. Obviously, we do know it was the Stark Expo. I just don't remember. I don't know if they actually said the time.
Yeah,
that's actually now that I think of it.
It could be like, hey, this one is a couple days, and it got bigger over time.
That is true. But yeah, but what did you guys think of the first Avenger?
Well, I loved it. I loved the, I think Chris Evans and a massive amount of CGI really sold the scrappy young kid that never knows how to stop fighting, and
I could do this all
day. and Chris Evans and his personal trainer and nutritionist and whatever else he got also sold the transition to Great American Beefcake.
Great American Beefcake.
That was that.
Yeah.
They probably.
God, that's so much better than America's ass.
That is America's ass.
That was the alternate subtitle. It was
Captain America,
Great American Beefcake.
Oh god.
But
I would truly give anything to make that happen.
That was great. Hugo Weaving is, of course, a fantastic actor, and as he, even as the Matrix trilogy got just insane, and he continued.
Just insane.
He just continued to be a palpably threatening character, and yes, a highlight of the movie.
Yes, absolutely.
Until he was practically the entire movie, but that's
a different story.
Yes. Now,
I don't think that Red Skull was necessarily the strongest villain in a movie,
no.
but
it also
was still
helped.
enjoyable.
It definitely helped because it was propelled by Weaving.
Yeah. It was propelled by Weaving.
And his performance as a whole.
And I mean, let's be real here. Captain America, I think that the Marvel movies, do a good job of making you, especially while you're in the theater, feel like, oh my gosh, I'm watching some really badass stuff.
Yeah.
But Captain America, superheroes, that's campy. That's ridiculous stuff.
Yeah.
It's men in tights, running around with crazy zany superpowers. And Captain America's no different. He is really buff, obviously a sex icon because of how buff he is, and he's fighting a guy who's just a red alien that I don't even know.
No, he actually, they were developing their own super soldier serum.
Yes.
And he was a messed up version of that.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, but my point still stands is that they're both two equally campy characters that balance each other out and somehow make a badass pair.
Yeah. And I like that actually Captain America doesn't even start off as a badass. He starts.
That's my favorite thing about this movie. Is
I completely agree.
Is they like it's hard to do the great hero's journey if you get as Tony Stark said in the next movie, everything that's special from you came out of a bottle.
Yeah.
Like if it is just like, hey, you had the attitude all along, and now here's a shot, and now you are the perfect fighting machine.
Yeah.
How do you make that a hero's journey?
Yeah.
Well, because everybody, the program was declared not viable, and now you're just wear some circus outfit and go around and perform and inspire people.
Yep. Just a propaganda machine.
And
they do make him the perfect super soldier, and then they waste him.
Yes,
yeah.
Absolutely. For so long until he's like, nope. I just realized that I want to fight you too, so I'm gonna fight you by fighting for you, and it's great. And also,
it's great because it shows Captain America having his own opinions rather than just being, because soldiers, they're supposed to be keep your head down,
follow orders. Yeah.
But as we see in Captain America: Civil War,
I was going to say that trait continues from the 40s
it
to...
It really develops into his character. Like, we see it a little bit in this movie, and then a lot more payoff.
Yeah, and in the comics, the only time Captain America was interesting to me in the comics was the times when he was like, I still feel like I do represent America, and I feel like the people that are giving me the orders don't. So I'm going to do my own thing, even if it means you take away the Captain America title. And I, for a while, he was Nomad in the comics, which is
Nomad,
just a dumb outfit. It's a deep V all the way down to his belt buckle.
No way.
Oh yeah,
sounds like something out of The Boys. Honestly.
Yeah, it does.
But
it really does.
But there was a great sort of a sort of a proto Civil War. Not before the Civil War stories in the comics. There was this time where Tony Stark realized way too many people have my armor, or Stark technology.
Yeah.
So I'm going to go around as Iron Man and purposely incapacitate absolutely everything that I have sold or that was stolen or taken from me in any way.
Right.
And that included Captain America's shield.
Mm-hmm.
So there was a thing where he was fighting a Steve Rogers that wasn't even Captain America at the time in order to take out the electronic parts of the shield, because that was they explained that in the comics, that vibranium is only one part of what makes the shield special. So that was a cool thing. And again, it was always when he stepped away from just being the soldier taking orders that Captain America was interesting. And they just started this off right.
I completely agree.
And that's...
Yeah, that's really... Oh.
The only other thing is they did a perfect comics accurate costume for him, and as you said, it looked stupid.
It did look stupid.
Yeah. And so the MCU has done really well, and Phase 1 set this up for everybody. They're like, we're going to try to make it comics accurate, but also real world viable.
Yeah.
Whereas like the X-Men movies in the 90s were like, their outfits look stupid if we try to make them real, so everyone just wears black leather.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So like getting the comic accurate Captain America costume and then transitioning to a functional version of it was really good, and made it okay that his costume just kept changing throughout the entire franchise.
I completely agree. I mean, it's they did a really good job for like the ending as well, having like, realizing that like Steve's world, it's just taken away from him, and you feel really bad when you finally see Times Square and like like Fury is next to him, and he's like, you good? And then he's like, I had a date, and like, just given all the circumstances, Agent Carter is old now, and like all of his friends, of course Bucky at the time, he thought he was dead, and he's just alone in this brand new world, and it's a really cool dynamic that is played on a little bit more in the next movie.
Avengers or Winter Soldier?
Avengers.
Okay.
And of course, I mean, obviously it's played throughout Winter Soldier as well, but because he doesn't really want to be on board that much.
Yeah.
Cap doesn't want to be on the Avengers.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Because, of course, if I remember correctly, the end credit scene for Winter Soldier, or not Winter Soldier, my bad, First Avengers, is like Fury telling him about a job.
Yeah.
And
he's in the gym, right? And he's like boxing.
Yeah, and he's just like letting out all that anger.
And he like breaks the punching bag.
Yeah. No, this movie was
so cool.
This movie was a nice like refresh rather on just Marvel as a whole, because it started off very, very strong with Iron Man 1. Then Incredible Hulk showed up and was kind of, depending on who you ask, a whimper. Iron Man 2 showed up and was better, but not quite there.
The movies took a dip.
Yeah. Then Thor continued to just make it lower, and then First Avenger was a nice kind of
brought it back.
Yeah. And of course, sending it all off into the next
penultimate
movie,
moment of the first season.
A movie a movie a lot of people didn't think they would actually ever see is 2012's The Avengers. Mm-hmm. What a movie! It's still honestly,
Brendan, you quote it every time we hang out.
It's still one of my favorites. I still think it is one of the strongest MCU movies. That is hands down. Everything they did in this movie, I love.
Yeah.
Absolutely think they killed it introducing everyone and their dynamics. Especially when, most of the movie is them just not getting along until the end.
Oh yeah, they don't exactly work well together at first.
And I like that, Tony sees Bruce and kind of come on, a big fan of your work, especially, I love that you turned into this, massive green just killing machine. Love it, big fan, nice to meet you. And he just doesn't take it seriously.
Yeah.
And just a good villain. And
Loki's fantastic.
Yeah,
everyone
it's so good. The first Avengers movie is just so fun. I think it still holds up, absolutely. But what do you guys think of Avengers?
Well, I really liked it.
Yeah,
let's get that out of the way.
I agree with everything you said. It is a fantastic movie. It brought everyone together. It had some great shots of that shot of going around the entire group, that when they're standing in the middle of that battle, that's a great shot. And
absolutely,
and unlike some things they did later on, it didn't feel staged.
Yeah,
it was just this is how they would be standing, and except I'm sure, I don't remember off the top of my head, but I'm sure that that Black Widow was standing in an unnatural way, because that's just what you do to women in movies. But
she was doing this weird she's doing this weird everyone's sitting there with all these superpowers, and then you just see Black Widow load a mag into her pistol, and Hawkeye's I got an arrow. I mean, and he's technically a bad guy through most of this movie,
right? Because there's not just one, but 2 Infinity Stones in the first Avengers, right? Loki's scepter and the Tesseract.
Well, no, the Tesseract is what fuels Loki's scepter.
What? I thought Loki's scepter had the Mind Stone.
I thought
No, the Tesseract is a separate thing.
Oh, it is?
Yep, the Tesseract is this the cube that they're getting power from, and the scepter allows him to control people's minds.
Wow, totally thought it was the same thing. Wow, I'm gonna get torched in the comments.
Get wrecked, bro.
No, I think as long as we as a group don't follow along with that mistake, I think we're gonna be okay.
Yeah, absolutely. That's a good point. Good point.
But don't feel like you have to prove me wrong. Go ahead and tell Brandon what an idiot he is.
Yeah.
Now I'm just gonna talk about instead how much fun it was to like discover the things that Marvel left for us in this movie.
Yeah.
Right? Like the stones. I didn't know.
Yeah, they weren't Infinity Stones then.
No.
I didn't even know that was a thing.
Right. I didn't know either. I didn't even know who Thanos was.
Right.
I like the end credit scene. I saw some purple dude that like I don't know if it's just me. He looks incredibly fake.
Oh
in that post credit scene.
Yeah.
And I don't know what it is. Like maybe it's
because it was rushed. It was rushed, and it probably is the lighting because there was. It's funny you say that because I think that was a guy in makeup in front of a green screen, whereas when James Brolin got the role and was on screen as an actual character, that was all CGI, and he looked less fake.
It was just motion capture with a stick on his back that had Thanos' head.
Also, it's Josh Brolin.
Did I say James Brolin?
Yeah, you said James Brolin.
Oh my god, you're so dumb.
Don't kill him, comment section.
I've never even thought about his dad. No, James Brolin is Josh Brolin's father.
Yes.
And I don't know if he still is, but I only even know about him because he was. I don't know if they were even married, but he was with Barbara Streisand.
Okay.
But anyway. Okay, so Josh Brolin.
Yeah.
But yeah, I forget. I think they had like a minor pro wrestler or something play Thanos in the first one.
Oh man!
It's like they made his eyes glow too.
Yeah. And
it always looked so weird to me because the rest of the movie looks gorgeous. Yeah. Even now, like the special effects are fantastic. The Chitauri look really, really good.
Yeah.
It was just clear that they didn't get that far yet.
Yeah. No, they knew. They knew that that they were going. At this point, they knew that they were going to work up to Thanos being a huge villain, and probably knew that they were going to do the Infinity War as a as a major thing. I don't know if they knew how many movies before they'd actually get to a satisfying conclusion on that, but
right, because this is 6 out of 23.
Now that wasn't the one where he said, "Fine, I'll do it myself."
No, that was the end credit scene of Ultron.
Right. That didn't reference anything.
No.
Like because
just
anyway,
showed him doing it.
Yeah.
Like it was, what are you going to do yourself? And it never addressed it. But
nope.
But that's okay.
Talk about that next time.
Yeah.
Unless anyone has anything else to say about Avengers, maybe it's time to rank these movies now.
I want to say one thing, because the thing that I hear... there's one mistaken impression that a lot of people have. Because there's a moment...
Do a Tony Stark impression?
No.
Oh, a Mark Ruffalo
There's
impression?
a moment in the movie where people are like, oh yeah, Captain America's probably a little bit racist. And it's when he hands Nick Fury a $10 bill as they board the helicarrier.
Oh, no, that's because he lost the bet.
Yes. Yeah.
What?
But so many people don't know that.
Wasn't
really?
that in the...
You guys, they just talked
Yeah.
about the bet.
Yep. No, but people assume like, oh, he's tipping the black guy that got them on the...
Come on, listen to the words, people.
Yeah, what?
So anyway, that was cool though. That he was like, I think I've seen everything. Nothing's going to impress me.
$10 says like, this will.
Yeah.
No, I really like that. Actually, before we rank them, this was the first on-screen appearance of Ruffalo as Bruce Banner.
Oh yeah.
And I also think that this is the best Hulk that we got out of the entire... I really liked that Bruce still kind of is that sort of what we talked about with Edward Norton being a very effective, kind of like introverted, nice guy, but an asshole because like he knows what he has. Because like in this movie, he doesn't like think the Hulk is like this, you know, this super big badass. It's like, oh yeah, give me a sec, like hell yeah, like woo. He literally says to that whole scene with him meeting Black Widow, where he raises his voice and she like freaks out and aims the gun at him, and he goes, yeah, just, you know, wanted to see how you'd react. And like, you know, you guys are putting me in a tin can, and then he sees the hovercraft just fly up and he goes, no, it's worse. Like,
it's
great.
worse, yeah.
So I really like that he treats the Hulk as this uncontrollable abomination.
Mm-hmm. Huh.
And yeah, see what I did there.
But he actually makes it clear that he is controlling him.
Yes,
he does have it under control.
And that's another great scene too.
Yeah,
I'm always angry and just so good. There's so many like memorable, iconic moments in this movie that it makes me really want to rewatch it again. Honestly, because it's so rewatchable.
I love when he picks up Loki and just smashes him back and forth on the floor.
Hell yeah!
And that scene with Loki and Tony, where the scene that everyone knows, where he just lists off everyone, and he's like, and you managed to piss off every single one of them. Yeah. And he's like, I have an army. We have a Hulk.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah.
Your move, pal. It's great. Like, I love it. Love the chemistry with like every single character in this movie. It's so good. So yeah, now it's time to let's kind of make a little list of what we think of all these movies as a whole. So are we going to do individual lists or do one grand list? Because I feel like we're all on the same page for the most part.
I think so.
I think so as well.
So the list seems to be from worst to best would probably be, by all means, correct me if I'm wrong, Thor, Incredible Hulk, Iron Man 2. Now this is the part where I feel like we
might stray.
Which one do we like more, Iron Man 1 or First Avenger?
I prefer First Avenger.
You prefer First Avenger. Do you prefer First Avenger over Iron Man, Nate?
I do.
You do?
Yeah.
Okay, and I agree with that as well. So it goes Thor, Incredible Hulk, Iron Man 2, First Avenger, Iron Man, and then the Avengers being the best one out of Phase 1.
Yeah, but other way around. I like Captain America more than Iron Man.
Oh, right, yes, my bad. Flip that. So it's Iron Man, First Avenger, and then Avengers.
Yeah, for me anyway.
I agree with that list as well. That's my...
Are you writing this down, Nate, or?
I'm making this list, so I think we should do a backwards count, but
a backwards count?
Oops. Yeah. I'm sorry. So where's Incredible Hulk on your scale?
Second to last.
Second to last.
Thor's last.
Thor is last. So what is your list?
Yeah, I've got my favorite's Avengers, second favorite's Captain America, First Avenger. My mouth wasn't ready for all those words.
Yeah, I guess Captain America, whatever.
Yeah, Iron Man 2, Incredible Hulk, and then Thor. Yep.
All right.
There you have it.
That is Phase 1 of the MCU. Thank you guys so much for tuning in to this episode. We will be tackling Phase 2
and 3
later
dates.
Yeah, later on down the line. And as always, you can catch us every single week, every Tuesday on Take 47. Bye, guys.
Later.